Hi guys, this is day 41 of the AS Economics Revision Challenge, and today we are doing policies to correct inflation in an economy. When we look at policies to correct inflation, we also need to understand what are the causes of inflation, what is resulting in inflation to happen. And inflation can be reduced through two ways. One is through managing AD to slow down the growth of AD if the cause of inflation is, for example, demand pull inflation, but you can also boost the rate of growth of aggregate supply or make the AS curve go to the right. So diagrammatically, we're looking at two kinds of solutions. One is where we would want the AD to go down. So let's say if this is my AD curve right now, AS curve right now, I want my AD curve to shift backward from AD0 to AD1. This is basically causing us to have a lower price level. So let's say if your price level was P0, now you have a price level of P1. So making AD fall or reducing or slowing down AD is one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is basically to make the aggregate supply curve shift to the right, or through what we call sometimes supply side policy. So if this is my AD0 and AS0, by basically making the rate of growth of aggregate supply to rise, we are making the price level to go down as well. So these are the two ways we look at controlling sort of inflation, and these are done through what we call fiscal and monetary policy as well as supply side policy. So when you look at this kind of making AD fall kind of a situation, this is what we call a situation where we're using what we call demand side policies, and here we're using what we call supply side policies. And when we look at demand side policies, we're looking at basically contractionary fiscal and monetary policy. So let's discuss first the demand side policies of contractionary fiscal and monetary policies, which slows down the AD of the economy and results in lower inflation. So the first policy we want to discuss is what we call fiscal policy. So if the government believes that AD is too high, it may choose to tighten fiscal policy, which is basically reducing its own spending. So G goes down, number one, G goes down, and at the same time they are trying to sort of raise direct taxes, so T goes up, which in turn leads to AD to fall. So a rise in taxation means lower disposable income, which means consumption and investment will fall, so therefore AD will fall. Similarly, G falls as AD is C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Let me write this: AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So when the government expenditure goes down, AD goes down. So this is the way we, through fiscal policy, try to make the AD fall or slow down the growth of AD in an economy. The second step we use is what we call monetary policy. So let's discuss monetary policy. A tightening of monetary policy includes central bank introducing a period of higher interest rates. So interest rate goes up, and that when interest rate goes up, we know consumption will fall because cost of borrowing is going up and incentive to save is going up. Saving will, on the other hand, go up as well because people are now finding it more profitable to save. As a result of that, all of this results in basically AD to fall. So not only you cutting down consumption, but you're also cutting down investment as firms are finding it expensive to borrow, and these high interest rates are causing therefore AD to fall. So another aspect that we talk about is that when there is a high interest rate in an economy, it may cause the exchange rate to also appreciate, and that's simply because we notice that higher interest rate results in hot money to flow into the economy. That results in exchange rate to go up, and higher exchange rate means exports become expensive, so exports will fall, imports become cheaper, so imports will rise, and therefore X minus M will fall. So another aspect that happens is basically, remember, AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. So not only your X minus M is going down, but also I and C are going down because the cost of borrowing and incentive to save is going up. So this is what we call monetary policy, which results in AD to fall in an economy. Now, let's move on to our next part, which is what we call supply side policies. We say supply side policies are policies which are designed to increase the productivity and competition and innovation, all of which we say can lower prices. So we're making the aggregate supply curve shift to the right, and that's a way to control inflation in the medium term. And these policies, we've discussed this in detail in another video, is basically all are trying to make the economy to become more productive, more competitive, control prices through, not control prices, but basically make the prices go down and increasing the business functioning of an economy. Now, what is the end result of this? Well, end result is something which we did draw earlier, which is basically that the supply side policy will cause the aggregate supply to go to the right, and it is very good for the economy to see that not only aggregate supply curve aggregate supply is going to the right, the price level is going down, the GDP is going up. But look at demand side policies. Demand side policies bigger problem is this, that although you control inflation, price level goes down, but look at this, the price level did go down when the AD go down, but the GDP fell. So there is a conflict when it comes to using demand side policies versus supply side policies. So, and that's something which I want to discuss in detail in terms of evaluation of anti-inflationary policy. Well, first evaluation of an anti-inflationary policy is the idea that from a political standpoint, demand side policies are not very popular. Why? Because they are making the AD curve go to the down, to go backward, which means that already GDP will fall. But look at fiscal policy. If you look at fiscal policy, it is asking for taxation to go up, which is not popular among people. It is also asking for government spending to go down, which is again unpopular among people, and that will basically inevitably make poor people to get affected much more than the rich people, and that is a cause of unpopularity in an economy. Similarly, when you look at fiscal policy takes a lot longer for an economy, for a result to happen. When you look at fiscal policy, the way it is decided, it's a long political process where the government has to first approve the budget, and then the policy will be implemented, and then the results will come. So there will be a long time lag involved in using contractionary fiscal policy, which is trying to manage AD. So that's another problem with fiscal policy. When you look at monetary policy, higher interest rates can basically harm people in the economy. So for example, if the economy, if you look at economy, when you increase interest rates, most people will obviously have taken loans or mortgages, or firms who have taken debt, all of it will become expensive, and this high interest rate means that the payments of debt will become difficult, and that's also a cause of unpopularity for many governments. Well, in the long run, basically, if you want to sort of go about fixing the economy or inflation in economy, we need to use what we call supply side policies, which is basically providing that flexibility to the economy without suffering from acceleration in the cost and price inflation. The fact that there are no trade-offs of supply side policies makes it the best policy. The only downside of supply side policy, as we discussed earlier as well, is that it takes long to get affected. It's a long-term policy, not a short-term policy. And number two, more important, it is expensive, requires funds to be dedicated for it, even in the long run. So these are the few policies and evaluation of anti-inflationary policies.